Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something you use every single day, tech platforms. We're going to dive into the work of law professor Tim Wu, who's got this pretty big idea that these platforms are changing our world in ways we're only just starting to understand.
All right, let's just jump right in with a quote from Wu. It's pretty out there. He says we're at risk of returning to something like feudalism. And no, he doesn't mean we're all going to be living in castles. He's talking about a new kind of feudalism, one where a tiny group of people control the most important assets of our time. Yeah, our digital platforms. And the rest of us? We're kind of like the peasants living in their kingdom. Sounds pretty dramatic, right? So let's break down what he actually means.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this modern feudalism thing, we have to start with his core idea. He says we've slipped into a new era, something he calls the age of extraction.
I bet this image captures a feeling you've had. Just think back a bit. Remember when the internet felt like this amazing fantasy land? Google was just that clean, simple search box. Uber rides felt impossibly cheap. So much of it felt free and just easy. But as Wu puts it, sometime over the last decade or so, the dial has been turned. Now, it feels like we're paying for everything, all the time, either with our actual money or with our data.
So what does he actually mean by extraction? It's basically when a business gets you into a corner, right? A position where they can take way more from you than the value they're actually providing. You know, like when you have to book a plane ticket at the very last minute and the price is suddenly just astronomical. Wu's big argument is that this isn't just a one-off thing anymore. It's become the main business model of our time.
So, how does this all work? How do they get us into that corner? Well, it all starts with a simple question. Where do our lives even happen anymore?
You know, pretty much every society has had a central spot, a public square where everything goes down. It's where you'd go to buy and sell stuff, to argue about politics, just to see and be seen. For centuries, these places, like the Roman Forum here, were real physical spaces. And here's the key. They were public, owned by everyone, by the city or the state.
But what about today? Where's our public square? It's not a place. It's a bunch of apps. It's Google, it's Instagram, it's Amazon. And that right there, that is the single biggest change. The most essential infrastructure of our lives, the place where everything happens now. It's not public anymore. It's all privately owned.
And wow, when you actually put them side by side like this, the difference is it's stark. We've gone from public ownership, where the goal was civic life, to private ownership, where the goal is, let's be honest, profit. Plain and simple. Our new town squares are designed with incredible sophistication, not for openness, but to squeeze every last drop of value out of every single thing we do on them.
So the big question is, how on earth did we get here? I mean, wasn't the internet supposed to be this amazing democratizing force? How did that dream turn into this system of extraction? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is a cultural shift, a revolution really, that happened right inside Silicon Valley.
If you rewind the clock back to the 60s and 70s, the whole vibe in Silicon Valley was totally different. It was almost kind of hippie-like, very public-spirited. Researchers would share their work openly, but that whole culture got completely flipped on its head. It was replaced by a new, unapologetic creed: go for monopoly, shamelessly.
And this wasn't some secret plan. It was out in the open. You had super influential people like Peter Thiel championing this exact idea. The goal wasn't just to make a cool product anymore. No, the goal was to build a fortress, a monopoly that was literally impossible to challenge. And that way of thinking, it changed the entire game.
So, this new creed, aim for monopoly, came with a brand new playbook. You had founders like Elon Musk who just shattered the old norms and held on to massive chunks of their own companies. Then, as these platforms got bigger and bigger, their focus shifted. It wasn't about innovation anymore. It was about defending the empire. And when people started to push back and criticize them, the attitude became something like, well, they already hate us, so who cares? Let's just do what we want.
Okay, so this isn't just a story about business and technology. This is where things get really serious. Wu makes this powerful case that all this concentrated economic power has huge political consequences. He says it's putting us on a kind of modern road to serfdom.
And he actually lays it out in 5 stages. So here's how it goes. First, you get monopolization. A few companies control everything. Step 2, those monopolies start extracting wealth from everybody else. That naturally leads to step 3, mass resentment. People feel like the system is rigged. Now, step 4 is the really critical one. Democracy fails. The government doesn't step in to fix things. And that vacuum, that's what creates the opening for step 5, the rise of a strongman, a populist leader who comes along and promises to burn the whole corrupt system down for the little guy.
So, the obvious question is, where are we on this road right now? Well, according to Wu, the United States is dangerously far down the path. He argues that the rise of certain populist leaders fits this pattern perfectly. You have a huge chunk of the population that's just lost faith in democratic institutions, and they start to believe that only a powerful leader can fix things. In his view, we're way past the extraction phase and deep into a real political crisis.
So is that it? Is this future just inevitable? Well, not necessarily. Let's take a look at where the resistance is happening, from the hype around AI to what governments are trying to do.
Right now, all you hear about is AI. Tech giants are pouring billions and billions of dollars into it. And sure, some of that is about real innovation. But Wu argues there's another, bigger motivation: to create what he calls a technology of consumer captivity. Basically, a way to lock us in even tighter to their platforms, making it even harder for any competitor to ever break through.
But Wu says, maybe we should pump the brakes on the hype a little bit. He tells this funny story about how, back in the day, the microwave oven was supposed to completely replace all cooking. He even went to a party once where the host tried to cook a whole turkey in a microwave. And yeah, you can guess how that turned out. It was terrible. His point is, these powerful new technologies don't always remake the world in the way people predict. AI is obviously impressive, but maybe it'll end up being really good for just a few things, not everything.
Now, what about Europe? They're famous for trying to regulate big tech with things like GDPR, but Wu argues that, for all the talk, their approach has actually been, well, surprisingly soft. He says the laws are really sophisticated and complicated, but they don't actually tackle the core problem. I mean, what's the point of a privacy law that doesn't actually ban surveillance? Or a market law that doesn't stop these companies from extracting massive amounts of wealth? He thinks it's kind of missing the whole point.
And all of this brings us to one final, really big question. If these digital platforms really are the new roads, the new bridges, the new public squares, then why have we just accepted that these essential spaces have to be for-profit businesses run by private American companies? It really makes you wonder, is it time we started seriously thinking about what a public alternative might look like?